Hello, it's Andy from Email Love, and today we are going to recreate one of my favorite newsletters from a brand called Envato. So let's jump on to emaillove.com and take a quick look at this email. Okay, so here is the email. I really love the animation at the top and this kind of cutout design here, which I believe is part of the animation. And despite being quite an image heavy email, they still have managed to use HTML text, which I think is great. Obviously, they've got quite a bit of animation throughout the email to showcase their new AI video generator feature. And then at the bottom here, there's this green section, which we will be recreating using one of our newer features, which is called the table. So we're going to use a table to recreate this little check mark and this text section here. So that's the email. I'm going to download the screenshot of this, and then we will jump into Figma. So let's jump over there now. Okay, so here we are in Figma. This is just the screenshot of the design. And obviously I have the Email of Figma plugin right here. So let's scroll to the top and begin with the header. So to get started, I'm just going to add a new frame. I'm going to call this my Envato newsletter frame. And we just want to add probably just one of our, I think it's just an image. So I'm just going to add actually the full width image that we have down here. I'm actually not going to add it as a header section. So I'm just going to add this full width image, and then I'm going to replace the image with the banner that I've taken from Envato's email. And I'm going to set this to fill, just so it fills the entire space. Okay, and then this down here, so you have this cutout kind of effect. That's just part of the animated GIF that they have created. So I'm going to add another image. So exactly the same component there. And I'm just going to replace it with Envato's animation, which I believe is this one. So you can see here the animated GIF doesn't quite fill the space. And so when you have selected MJ image, you can actually just drag this up here just to have it fill the space. And then I typically set the image to fill. Let's just preview that to see how that looks. There we go. So Figma, for some reason, does not like to display animated GIFs on the design board, but when you preview it inside of our plugin, you can check that the animation is working. And then we have this HTML text section under here. So we're just going to want a simple text block. So I'm just going to go to the single column section here and just add the most basic text block. And I'm just going to copy that text from Email Love, which has the full version of the email. Okay, so obviously we want to style this. So changing the background color, updating the fonts. I'm just going to use the color picker to choose the background color. And then they have the text come quite tight against the side of the email. So we have 60 pixels of padding. I'm going to reduce that down to 15. And then I'm also going to reduce the amount of padding above and below the section. We will also want to update the font color. And then we also want the text block here to be this pink. So I'm going to use the color picker to grab that. So you can see our link by default is underlined. Envato has not underlined their link. And so if you want to copy that, you can simply select the link, and then over in the typography section of Figma, you just click on the type settings, and you can see here under decoration, you just set decoration to none. Okay, there we go. So now we want to add this image down here. Let me just pull in that image because I don't know what shape it is. Okay, so what we want to do here is we want to add a new image, but we want it to have a border around it because the image is just a transparent PNG. And so we have a slightly different image option that you can choose. So if you go to images, this first option is a full width image, and then the next option has a border around it. So by default, it's just this white border. We can easily change that to be the same as the background color. Okay. There we go. And then we'll want to replace this image. And then I think the spacing between these two sections is a little bit much, so I'm going to reduce that. Okay, there we go. Again, you don't want to be dragging and dropping. If you want to change the spacing, you want to use Figma's auto layout feature, so you can see around the sections. There's this kind of these blue bars showing how much padding is around the image. And so rather than dragging the frames, you just want to use the padding adjustments on the right-hand side in the auto layout panel, sorry. And then if we preview, that is looking pretty good. Okay, so let's add this step 1 text. I'm actually just going to copy this text block, move that down here, and then copy the text. We'll need to increase the font size. And then again, oops. One thing that we could do actually is rather than always having to adjust the link color, what we could do is we could select the template, go into the appearance tab, and then update the link color. So in the color styles option, we just update links to be pink. And then I think when we add a new link, it will be pink. I think you will still need to remove the text decoration if you want to, though. So if you don't want that underline, you still have to manually go in and remove it in the typography section of the plugin. Let's update the padding here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this image section. add the new image. I don't know if that's the correct version. Let's have a look. Let's just preview this, see how it's looking. I think that might be the same animated GIF, so let's switch that out. I think it must be this one. Okay, so let's just, what we can do is we can quickly copy these sections and then just quickly switch out the, actually have these the wrong way around. This image should go up here. So when you if you want to just switch things around, you can just make sure that you just select a section and then you can visually just move it up and down. Sorry, I've missed a step. Let's add step 3. Step 4, and then I think there's one more. And then at the very bottom, we have this button here. So I'm just going to add a button section. So just select the frame, and then we have several button options. Just going to add the most basic. We want the button left aligned, so we can just choose the button frame. Make sure it's left aligned in the auto layout panel. And then we also want to reduce the padding on this, this section here. We also want to adjust the corner radius, which is set to 100 by default. And this is quite a big buttons. I'm just going to, you can increase the height of the button. So just select the button frame or the actual button, and then let's just make it 60 pixels in height. And we can also reduce the size of it as well. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Okay, now we have this green section. This is an image where it says sneak peek, and then this is HTML text. And then we will need to use a table for this music protection and new 3D arrival text and icon. So I'm going to add this as just an image first. And actually it looks a little bit like one of these headers. So I'm actually just going to add it as a header, which is just a left aligned image. Okay. And then just update the color. We will then need some text down here. Just going to grab this section. I will need to change the styling of this section. And actually, one thing just to point out is this section is the child of a parent section at the top. You can tell because it has this diamond icon, which is just an empty diamond. And so what you can do is you can detach this instance. And so now this section is now not attached to the section at the top. The reason why I think this is the parent section. And so if we make any changes in this, you can see that they cascade down across all of the different sections where you've used that component. So that's why I wanted to detach that instance. And then what I can do is I can update the styling. I can update the text. There we go. And I think I want to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to set that line height to auto for this one. Okay, there we go. That looks pretty good. I might increase the padding up here. Okay, so we've got the sneak peek image, we've got the headline, and now we want to add a table. And to do that, I'm going to select the overall frame. I'm going to go into the build your own section, and I will add a single column section, which is empty. So here's my empty wrapper. I'm going to select the column, and you can see inside of the plugin, I can now add text, images, buttons, dividers, navigations, and as well as tables. So I want to add a table. I think I want it to have 2 rows and 2 columns. And this adds an empty table. So this is not what we want it to look like, but this is how it begins. And so the reason tables are really useful is you can adjust the column widths. So I could have a column width up here that's this big, and then I could have a completely different column at the bottom, which is a different width. In this case, actually what we might do is we might just let's just delete this bottom column for now, or this bottom row, and then we'll style the top row how we want, and then we can duplicate it. And so we want an image on the left, and then we want text on the right. And so when you select the empty column inside of a table, you can add images and text. In this case, I'm going to add an image, and then I'm going to update that image with my icon. So here's my little icon. I'm going to set the icon to fit. And I am going to Then add some text on the right-hand side. Okay, so we want some padding. So I'm going to add 15 pixels of padding. Oops, I added that onto the wrong side. There we go. Okay, we also, by default for the tables, we add this black stroke around the columns so you can see where they are. Usually you probably want to remove those. So you can do that just by selecting the column and then just removing the stroke. Oops. I'm just going to reduce, as you can see here, I want the size of the image to be a little bit different, and I want the yeah, I'm going to set the column to hug. I'm also setting this everything to be aligned at the top. Okay, so we also want to change the color of this section. So let's find the background color. We actually want this image to be a little bit smaller. Okay, so let's just see how that is rendering. Okay, so it's not bad. Have the icon on the left. We have this text. Let's just preview that on mobile. What's that doing on mobile? Okay, so the text looks good. I think I'd want the icon to be a little bit bigger. And so what we can do is we can just see, if we just select the column and go into mobile styles, let's just see what we're doing here with the what we might want to do is just reduce this padding here. So I'm just going to reduce the padding of the text block on mobile. And that should okay, so let's preview that. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. We might want to add some padding on the right-hand side. Okay, but what we can do is we can now copy this section, update the text, And I want to add some more padding underneath this. So again, I'm going to detach the instance so I can change it a little bit. All right, there we go. So it's looking pretty close to the original. And then all we need to do is add a footer. So let's add a footer option here. Probably this one is the closest. We don't need the social icons. We can just delete that column. Update the image. Actually, I think this is actually a full width image. Okay, it is. So what that icon is not, it's not a single logo, it's actually a full width image. So actually I'm going to come back into images, add the full width image, and then I'm going to replace it. And there we go. Let's preview that. I think we're pretty much finished at this point. So the email is coming out at 90 kilobytes. So it's not going to get clipped in Gmail, even though it's quite a long email, which is great. We can preview it on desktop. So, and then we can also look at it on mobile. So you can see everything is stacking nicely. And then let's check it out in dark mode. Still looks really good in dark mode. You can read all the text. The animations still look really good. You do lose some of the green color will look different in some email clients. So just be aware of that. There's not much we can do about that in Gmail and Outlook. But overall, this looks like a really great design. And now that we've finished it, we can simply click on the export button. We can host the images, or we can choose our email platform of choice and then export. We could also send ourselves a test, or we could copy the HTML code as well. So that's all I have for today. Hopefully you found that useful. If you do have any questions, or if you want to chat about any of what you saw today in the tutorial, please let me know. Feel free to comment on YouTube or reach out to me via email or our Discord support channel. And hopefully you found this useful. Thank you. See you next time.